This is Yildiz.
Yildiz. Yildiz! Oh, it's a beauty! What a finish from Kenan Yildiz!
This is Del Piero.
Uno contro uno, Gilardino, dentro Del Piero, Del Piero, gol! Alex, Del Piero, chiude le Valencia!
Again, this is Yildiz.
Yildiz finding a pocket of space and picking out the corner.
And this is Del Piero. It's hard not to see the similarities. What happens when a 20-year-old is already being compared to Juventus royalty? Kenan Yildiz has barely stepped onto the stage, yet fans are whispering a name almost too heavy to carry: Alessandro Del Piero. But is Yildiz really the heir to Juve's greatest number 10? Or is that comparison unfair? What separates Kenan Yildiz from the long line of Juventus youngsters who have tried and failed to make the leap? The truth is, most academy products at this club spend years either waiting for minutes, going out on loan, or slowly adapting to the pressure. Yildiz didn't wait. With a handful of games, he was not just part of the squad, he was impacting results at the sharp end of the season. His goals and assists arrived in the kind of matches that define Juventus's campaigns, and that's what set him apart immediately. Think about his introduction. When most teenagers are given 5 or 10 minutes at the end of routine games, he was thrown into contests that carried enormous weight for the title picture. At Juventus's first Champions League fixture this 25-2026 season, Juventus versus Borussia Dortmund, instead of hiding, Yildiz made his presence unavoidable, producing one of those moments where a crowd goes from skepticism to belief in a single strike. That goal, carved out under pressure and with no hesitation, forced people to see him as more than a regular prospect, and fans worldwide comparing him to Juventus legend Del Piero. Also, the clash with Inter Milan, a fixture loaded with history and intensity. In that wild 4-3 win, Yildiz scored from long range, the kind of finish that makes even veteran defenders second-guess whether to step forward on him. What stood out wasn't only the power and precision of the shot, but the confidence to even attempt it in a match where one mistake could swing everything. Juventus doesn't usually let their youngsters take risk in this fixture. Yildiz wasn't given that permission, he simply claimed it. But his influence is not limited to goals. Watch his pressing, the way he forces defenders into hurried decisions, or how often he wins duels against stronger opposition. His recoveries in midfield help Juventus transition faster, and his passing accuracy shows he isn't just looking for highlight reel plays. He links attacks, drifts between lines, and consistently asks for the ball. These are the traits of a forward who values the dirty work as much as the glamorous finish, something rare for a player his age. Statistically, he already looks built for the modern game. High pressing numbers, strong percentages in ball retention, and a knack for recovering possession place him closer to the profile of a complete forward. That's the kind of data coaches want when they talk about a player who can shape a rebuild. And Juventus are in the middle of exactly that. A squad cut free from past stars, searching for a new identity grounded in young hunger and adaptability. Yildiz has become the living symbol of that project, the sign that Juventus are no longer afraid to gamble their biggest moments on youth. He's an answer to doubts about the club's future. But comparisons aren't only about numbers or projects, they stretch into emotion, identity, and memory. And in those spaces, there's one name that always surfaces alongside his. Why does every clip of Kenan Yildiz seem to end up side by side with footage of Alessandro Del Piero? The answer lies in how Juventus supporters measure greatness. For more than a decade, Del Piero carried the club through victories and crises, building an aura that went beyond goals. He wasn't only a skillful forward.
Så vet tekniskt vad kan göra mot Cleveland. Oj, 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 oj. Ravanelli vid straffpunkten, får han bollen.
He was the face of resilience when Juventus were relegated, and the leader who guided them back. Any player wearing the famous black and white now finds himself compared to that legacy. And for Yildiz, the similarities are being drawn faster than ever. Del Piero's historical weight at the club is impossible to overstate. He was the one who defined style with his cultured right foot, scoring from angles that looked unnatural to most players. He did it while wearing the captain's armband at some of the most difficult times in Juventus history, always projecting calmness no matter the magnitude of the stage. The benchmark he set wasn't just technical brilliance, it was authority during crisis, which is why Juventus fans instinctively search for echoes of him in newer talents. But such comparisons are a double-edged sword. On the one hand, drawing a link between Yildiz and Del Piero signals how much faith supporters already place in the youngster. On the other, it raises the bar to almost impossible levels before he truly settles in. Fans longing for the next Del Piero create an environment where every missed chance or poor game takes on extra weight, because the comparisons never stop. That intensity, it's both flattering and dangerous for someone who's only begun his career at the top level. When Yildiz struck in that dramatic contest against Dortmund, the scenes were instantly set against images of Del Piero's famous top corner finishes. Both players displayed that same blend of balance and technique, shooting under pressure without hesitation. The replays showed supporters making the link instantly, because the movements felt familiar, almost reflective of a past era. This isn't about numbers on paper, it's about body language in the decisive moment. Technically, the overlaps are evident. Yildiz carries himself with composure in high-pressure situations, and his goals often look effortless rather than forced. There's an elegance in the way he finishes chances when others might panic. Yet, analysts point out that Yildiz differs in an important way. He builds his game on physicality, direct runs, and relentless energy, whereas Del Piero floated into pockets in a possession-heavy Juventus team of the 1990s. And early 2000s, Yildiz thrives when the game stretches, when counterattacks open space for him to drive forward. That contrast explains why comparing their styles can be misleading. Juventus played a slower, more patterned brand of football during Del Piero's peak. Today, the speed of transitions is everything, and Yildiz adapts comfortably to that chaos. So, while he may carry snippets of the old number 10's grace, his toolset belongs to a modern age. The real point isn't about cloning a legend. Yildiz is mapping his own version of the number 10 tradition, combining nods to the past with demands of the present. And if he truly carries echoes of Del Piero, the next question is whether he can also deliver the decisive leadership that turns moments into a lasting legacy. Talent gets you noticed, but belonging at the very top level is about what you deliver under pressure. For a 20-year-old, proving that point means stepping into the hardest games on the calendar against experienced defenders, when the stakes refuse to let mistakes slide. That's where Kenan Yildiz has already left fingerprints that look less like sparks of potential and more like signs of someone who understands these stages were meant for him. The clearest example came in the Champions League thriller against Dortmund, a game that swung back and forth until the scoreboard read 4-all. In contests like that, nerves usually dictate the outcome as much as tactics, and yet Yildiz was the one who brought calm to the chaos. His equalizer wasn't a scrappy finish or even a slice of luck. It was a strike layered with intent. He connected with the ball as if he'd rehearsed that exact moment for years, shaping it past the goalkeeper with a level of precision that left supporters stunned. That ability to execute when fatigue clouds judgment is rare. Even seasoned professionals, they sometimes miscue in those situations. Yildiz did not. He carried himself like a player who already knew the weight of every touch, and that composure separated him from the countless young forwards who flash brightly in friendlies but shrink under the spotlight of European nights. During the clash against Inter, a fixture defined less by aesthetics and more by battle, this was not a smooth surface for skill expression. It was heavy, contested, and emotionally charged. Yet, Yildiz found space when others couldn't. One sequence stood out, a one-touch setup under pressure that ended with a curled power strike cutting through defensive traffic. It spoke not only to technique, but to decisiveness in a setting where hesitation usually punishes you, and was awarded man of the match for such a sensational performance in the Allianz Stadium.
Ciao SerieA, un grande saluto, grazie mille.
There was also his chemistry with Dusan Vlahovic, which produced one of his standout contributions, a perfectly weighted assist.
Subito in verticale, Yildiz, una grande palla per Vlahovic, ancora Vlahovic, Vlahovic!
The ball split defenders at the exact moment Vlahovic had found a pocket, a sign of vision that goes beyond raw finishing power. Young forwards often struggle to adjust their instincts when paired with senior attackers. Yildiz, instead, looked in sync, as if he'd already absorbed the rhythm of his teammates. What confirms his maturity, it isn't just what leads to goals, but also what prevents them. His recoveries in midfield, his tracking back, his persistence in duels. Those are tasks forwards often ignore. But Yildiz embraces them. Coaches crave reliability, and he's proving that he has that layer built in alongside his flair. Taken together, these details point to a young player whose influence grows sharper under pressure rather than fading away. Taken together, these details point to a young player whose influence grows sharper under pressure rather than fading away. And while that alone does hint at superstardom, the looming question is whether he can also shift from being decisive on the pitch to embodying the type of leader whose legacy lasts long after the final whistle. The terrifying truth is that Kenan Yildiz might become the next Alessandro Del Piero. It's that he could already be shaping a path Juventus hasn't seen before, one that reflects where the club needs to go rather than where it has been before. Del Piero's shadow will undoubtedly always loom over any talent wearing the number 10, but Yildiz doesn't need to copy that story to matter in Turin. The real debate is whether Juventus will let him be his own legend, or force him into a role built on nostalgia. What's more dangerous, living in the past or trying to rewrite it?